Hi there, I'm John Bowe. Welcome to JB's Track Tips. In this series we're going to start at the start and end at the end, which is generally what you should do on a racetrack. Say for instance you buy a, let's call it Toyota 86, good little car, great little car, lots of fun, rear wheel drive, quite benign in its handling, well behaved. What do you do to do a track day? Now, I'm not sure whether the Toyota Club or the Toyota 86 Club has a track day focus or not, but there are lots of car clubs that have track day focuses, MX-5s, Alfa Romeos, Porsches, Ferraris, whatever. So you contact your own brand of car club first and then go from there. If they don't have a track day, your Toyota doesn't have a track day, they will be aligned with somebody. Most of these clubs are aligned with Motorsport Australia, so there's a huge variety you can do all around the countryside. Doing your first track day can be really daunting. You know, you turn up at a track, lots of other people there, lots of cars, you're never quite sure where to go and do your documentation, how it all runs. So we're going to try and go through all that and make it less scary, because to me the only way you can ever enjoy modern day cars is to do track days. Driving on the freeway, driving even country roads now, they're way over policed. There's almost a camera hanging on off every gum tree, and you can't just enjoy them. Modern day cars are lots of fun and have huge capabilities, but the only way to really get some thrill out of it and have some fun is to go to a track day. So we're going to try and demyth the track days. Wherever you do your track days, you will have a driver's briefing. They'll tell you what I'm going to tell you. First thing you do is warm the car up, warm the brakes up, warm the tyres up. Most of all, warm yourself up. Don't try and break the lap record on your out lap. Be sensible about it, and you'll get better as you go through the day. But a lot of people try and go too fast too soon, and that can, and quite often does, leads to disaster. So sensible is a very good way to treat this. I like to think that I'm a smooth driver. When I say smooth, it means not busy with your hands. I think smooth is better. The great Sir Jackie Stewart always advocates being smooth. You can push harder if you're smooth, because you get better feel. You don't slam the brakes, you don't jerk the steering wheel, you do it nice and smooth. I call it smooth aggression. So you're not softy with your hands, but you're not jiggling the wheel, ripping on the steering wheel. I don't know how else to explain it other than to be smooth. Try and be smooth. Smooth is fast. I've been off the track, as in speared off, made a mistake, whatever, obviously a lot of times, because in 1200 races you end up, not all of them go well. If you end up in the gravel trap, you just have to sit there and wait till you get recovered. If you go off the track and there's no gravel and you want to rejoin, you need to rejoin safely. You don't just spear back on in front of somebody and end up having a major accident. So that's quite important to remember that. But the gravel traps, what I tend to do is think of some excuse why I'm in there. That's usually what I think of. It's not like a video game where you can spin around on a video game and end up going the wrong way, and then this thing flashes up wrong way. I mean, you need to make sure, if you've had a number of spins, you just regain your senses and make sure you join onto the track in the right direction. That sounds silly, but it can happen. But the main thing is to make sure you're not going to impede someone else, because if you pull out onto the track and there's some guy in a Ferrari doing 260 kilometres an hour and he's closing on you, you can have a serious accident. So we don't want accidents. We want to go home that night and say, wow, what a great day we had, you know, what a great day in your special car. I don't think the rain makes that much difference. Depending on the tyre, the tyres are obviously the contact with the ground, so the tyre is very important. This tyre here is an R-Spec tyre. Not too great in the wet, so if you are going to drive in the wet and you've got R-Spec tyres on, I would say you'd be very, very careful. Race cars obviously have wet tyres for wet and dry tyres for the dry, and the wet tyres are all right. You just do everything twice as smoothly in the wet. You'll be much smoother on the throttle, much smoother with your hands, much smoother with the brake, just gentle, and you'll generally go quite quickly. One thing to remember, I think, as a tip for wet weather is to find where the grip is, and you'll do that by, you know, driving in the wet. I did a Bathurst 12-hour a few years ago, 2010 I think, in a BMW 330, and they have to use an R-Spec tyre, and it was quite daunting, but there are places on the track that are not on the line that have got more grip than on the line, so you can find that out yourself. Say for instance, turn 1 at Sandown, on the outside of the track is got a lot more grip, probably 25% more grip than the inside of the track. So if it's raining, just have a bit of a search around. You can feel it through the steering. Obviously, it's your car you've got at the track, so you're familiar with it anyway, but you will get more and more familiar the more laps you do. There's no substitute for doing laps. There's no substitute for doing days at the track, because you learn something every time and you'll become more comfortable with pushing the limits a bit more. There's a lot of time to be made in braking. Most people don't brake properly, in my experience. Generally, over my many years of racing and doing track days, there's a variance in drivers' strengths as well. Some people are demons under braking. I mean, I have raced against the great Jim Richards many times. He's a incredibly late braker. Other people are more corner speedy. It doesn't really matter where you get the lap time from. You try and maximise your car, whatever that may be. You know, for instance, obviously, an MX-5 is not a quick car in a straight line, but it's quick round the corners. It brakes well. But if you happen to have the money to have a Porsche, or a Porsche, you know, GT3 or something, they're pretty good everywhere, but they have a technique to drive. You need a particular style of driving to drive a Porsche. So there's lots and lots to learn, and that's what we're going to try and cover in this series.